Welcome back to the Pleb Underground, Tuesday, 12:10 p.m. Eastern. Let's take a look at time chain stats to see what's going on here. What are we at? All right. So let's see. Block height 930,170. A little bit of a bump in public lightning capacity, 5,741. Oh, 2 sats per V-byte. A little bit more expensive than yesterday. All right, guys. We've got a whole lot of fun stuff to dive into. The signal without the slop. Sellers, are they finally drying up? This is kind of a piece that I've said before. For markets, you got to have sellers and buyers. So I guess maybe we could say some sell pressure is drying up, and maybe the other side is coming in and saying, you know what? This is a good price to start accumulating Bitcoin. Just maybe. We're going to show some evidence to that point, maybe. Anyways, is Bitcoin actually oversold? We've got some evidence that indicates it might be. Russia's largest bank issues its first Bitcoin-backed loan. We're going to take a look at that story. A lot of people just itching for the halving, right? Apparently the muted bull run that we had was just not enough so far, and we're all just itching for the halving. So we're going to take a look at when that's coming up. The market's risk appetite gap and some Samson Hopium. Also, thanks to Lucky Redfish, we're going to dive into the silver scare, right? Why not? Why not? The metals, it's kind of funny, right? Like in the Bitcoin space, the second another asset does well or pops off or something like that, all of a sudden it just becomes a bunch of cope and toxicity. And yeah, we're gonna take a look at that whole situation, see what we think of it. BlackRock and MSTR's Bitcoin holdings. It's always something to make you think that the big institutions are hodling Bitcoin. Yeah, we've got MicroStrategy, right? But what does BlackRock actually hold in terms of their own Bitcoin? We've discussed this before. I don't know why. I mean, I shouldn't say I don't know why. The news outlets, of course, pair these two together and leave them vague and incorrect on purpose. It just makes you think that these bigger institutions are buying Bitcoin when in fact BlackRock doesn't actually. Anyways, they don't hold that as much Bitcoin as everybody thinks. And of course, a topic of contention is always Bitcoin devs, right? We just had that whole core versus not slop for the last year or so. It just went nowhere, wasted everybody's time, created social fracturing. But we're going to take a look at a cool graphic, zoom out, and maybe gives us some hope about what's going on in the Bitcoin development space. And guys, before we dive into this, you know the deal. Going to give a shout out to the Pleb Underground sponsor, Archimedes Emporium, and we're going to be back in 30 seconds, dive into all this fun. Here we go. Pleb Underground is sponsored by Archimedes Emporium. Discover the pinnacle of precision engineering, starting with their Bitcoin logo wall clock, meticulously machined in Maine from a solid block of aerospace-grade aluminum, ensuring unparalleled durability and performance. Experience the difference of a product made without compromise. Head on over to Archimedes Emporium. All right, we're going to kick it off with some Hopium here from the Namcios account. For people who don't know who that is, he used to work for Bitcoin Magazine, used to write some very interesting articles. And anyways, he's kind of pivoted. And you know what? I appreciate the Hopium. Let's dive into it. Bitcoin may be about to take off, right? Again, more evidence towards the business cycle, right? Like it's not the 4-year cycle. Bitcoin is actually tied to the business cycle. Anyways, business cycle is reaching the bottom for the first time since 2020. Every time this happened, Bitcoin has exploded in the following months. Let's go. And there we go. Right, there we go. We got the nice little comparison chart, the business cycle on the bottom, the Bitcoin prices on the top. And even though this looks like a combination of a clown show and the Google colors, the evidence seems obvious. Up and to the right. The question is when. The question is when. There's also indication that there's a lot of liquidity actually drying up, right? I was actually having a conversation last night with TXMC, and part of the conversation was essentially that right now the actual demand for spot Bitcoin is not as, we'll say it's not as high as it was during the exuberance when we were pumping all the way up to 127K. It's actually much more akin to our lows in the previous bear market. So something to think about, right? Something to think about. All right, here we go, guys. The long-term hodlers have stopped selling for the first time since July. We keep seeing this messaging over and over again. And now, not only are we seeing the messaging that the hodlers, the OGs, the principled OGs have stopped selling, it's even beyond that. The principled OGs are now buying. So everybody's guessing. Hey, good morning. Good morning, Matt. Good morning, BTC Moon Guy. That's right. Good morning, Bitcoiners, GFY Bears. Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate the bear copium, though. Yeah. See, so take a look at that chart. There you go. See this little peak all the way over here on the right? This tiny little, you can barely even see it. That's the principled hodlers starting to buy again. Yeah. Okay. Take that in any way you want. Now, Bitcoin has been this oversold only 6 times in history. More indication of the bottom, more indication of oversold, more indication of seller exhaustion. I'd like to believe so. I would like to believe so. Amsios is doing a good job with all of these this Hopium stuff. So check this one out, guys. This chart shows something that few people are paying attention to. The white line in the market is the market's risk appetite. The orange one is Bitcoin. Historically, the two move together. But look at the gap that just opened up. That's right, guys. It is the gap of opportunity. The gap of opportunity, guys, right here. This giant gap. Hey, look, according to what I read yesterday, that MBA engineer account, right? We're teleporting to 219K in the next less than 48 hours. So, yeah, just be prepared. I wonder. Actually, no, he already has an excuse for when that doesn't happen, because when it doesn't happen, he gets to say, well, I had a 35-day window. So, yeah, of course, 35-day window. All right. Let's continue here with some more Hopium, right? Jan 3 account. Everybody knows that's Samson. 2025 was the bear market, so don't pay attention to every single Omega candle post he was making throughout the year. 2025 was actually a bear market. It's a wash, shakeout that we needed, right? And while sentiment dipped, Xelian explains why the stage is now set for a decade-long bull run. So we've switched from the Omega candles now to the decade-long bull run. I got to tell you guys, the closest thing that we got to the Omega candles that I saw were Omega red candles. So now, unless you take it on a bigger time frame, right, where you set it to like a daily candle or something like that, sure, you can make an argument that we got close to an Omega candle, but we didn't. We really didn't. And again, this is why the Hopium is very different, is very dangerous, because if you don't actually build your own conviction, if you don't understand Bitcoin yourself, and you are constantly looking to these accounts to tell you why you should be holding Bitcoin, you will not be able to hodl through the downturns. Not only that, you will not be able to accumulate more during the downturns. And the reason is you won't have the conviction to buy when the market seems like it's never going to go up again. Okay? It's just the truth. Conviction is probably the most important thing that you need to have. No, I'm not even talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about anything, right? Anything that you do, you need to have conviction. Like, that's it. It's full stop. All right. Here we go. We've got some more Mike the Clone Cope. He really needs Bitcoin to go down. Now, for me, this is ultra bullish, right? So Bitcoin, 50K in 2026, on the way to 10K. Hey, you know what? The last guy who thought he was going to get Bitcoin at 5K in the last bull run, right, was that green chicken, Doomberg. He gone. He ran. He disappeared, right? He spread his FUD. He was totally wrong. He got embarrassed, and he tipped out. Mike the Clone, though, he gets paid by Bloomberg. So I don't see this guy running away from his paycheck anytime soon, making bad calls. these bad calls will continue. I guess the silver lining is that people who don't have conviction are going to pay attention to guys like this and be like, oh, he's got the creds. He knows a lot. He does work for Bloomberg. I should probably sell now. So, yeah. The weekends, they'll fold to guys like this, but make no mistake, Mike the Clone is coping. He is coping. Indeed. Hey, Bitcoin Shango. There we go. I love trading places. Absolutely. Merry New Year. So close, so close. All right, guys. Can you hold out? I got to tell you, as soon as I saw this yesterday, there was a small part of me that died inside because I thought it was less days. 833 days. But look, guys, it's actually 832 days now. So don't feel so bad. All right, we're almost there. Almost there. The halving. And then it comes and absolutely nothing happens, right? I remember my first the first halving event that I went to. I was like super excited. All these people are like, hey, we're gonna do a bunch of calls and it's gonna be fun, and we're gonna have, like all of these spaces for the halving and this and that, and it's gonna be awesome. And then all that happened was that the block got mined and we moved to the next block. Nothing actually happens. It's just like New Year's. Nothing happens. The clock rolls over. That's it. Hey, plastic. Good morning, afternoon, evening. All right. So, yeah, having events. Lots of hopium. Hopium for nothing. Exactly. Bitcoin Shango. TikTok. Next block. But it's made up to be such a huge thing, right? It's made up to be absolutely massive and like it's going to be so cool. And that's it. Things are changing. The wheels are in motion. And exactly. Next block. Nothing changes. And that's it. Exactly. Just like another block. Right? It's that giant disappointment, of like, I think something special is going to happen, but nothing special happens. Hey, Phil. All right. Let's keep going. Okay, so guys, the silver stuff. Shout out to Lucky Redfish. Thank you so much for tagging me in all of this stuff. Obviously, we see the silver stuff. I'm apologizing in advance for talking about this. I am not a silver bug. Yes, I do have some silver, okay, from when I was a kid because my father gives it to me. Yeah, I've never sold it, and that's probably just because of it's more nostalgia. I don't know how to explain it, but it's like emotions, right? Like my father gave it to me, so I just I kind of hang on to it, Of course, the same can't be said for a bunch of other crap that my parents have given me, but yeah, I still have it. But again, I am not a silver bug. I don't think that like I'm going to be dumping all my Bitcoin and buying a whole bunch of silver because this is the next big thing. There's not going to be any silver treasury companies. Actually, it kind of makes me wonder, why aren't there any publicly traded companies like maybe Under Armour, right? Under Armour's been kicked in the nuts for like the last 5-6 years. Maybe they should start a silver treasury, right? Start accumulating silver and then issuing shares against silver, but never actually selling it, just issuing shares against it, right? Why don't they do that? Probably because it doesn't work very well. Anyways, okay, I'll stop. The 8 banks trapped in the silver squeeze. Okay. JP Morgan, HSBC, Scotiabank, BNP, UBS, Deutsche Bank, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs. Okay. It's the assertion at this point. So here's post from Shanaka and Slum Pereira. Silver's $1 trillion tell. Here's the story, guys. Everyone is chasing the wrong story. The viral narrative says 8 mega banks are trapped in silver shorts as the price hits $80. He spent 72 hours verifying every claim, and here's what I found. The collapse story is fiction. Yeah, obviously it's fiction. There's an amazing thing that actually happens, right? When the price of a commodity goes up, more of that commodity appears for sale on the market, doesn't disappear. And just so you guys know, I think I talked about this yesterday. I was listening to silver shortages in the 90s, okay? I was like in my teens, okay? And people were telling me, you're going to want to hold silver because the shortage is happening right now. And the big thing back then was the dot-com bubble that was forming. All of these tech companies, they're going to buy up all the silver. They're going to buy up all the silver. All the silver's gone. Silver's actually going to be worth more than gold. Obviously, that shit never happened. And here we are. So JP Morgan's 8K file. So no JP Morgan 8K filing exists. You check the SEC Edgar database, 0 December bank failures per the FDIC. Now, that just means they haven't reported them yet. Okay, I'm trying to be objective here. Doesn't mean that nothing happened. It just means that maybe what is happening isn't as big as some engagement accounts are making it out to be. The 34 billion emergency Fed repo traces to a single source rated very low factual accuracy. But here's what nobody is reporting. The CFTC bank participation data from December 2nd shows U.S. banks flipped net long silver futures for the first time in recorded history. The same institutions accused of suppressing silver for 15 years quietly switched sides before the $80 breakout. JP Morgan alone allegedly reversed from 200 million ounces short to 750 million ounces long physical. The largest position flip in silver market history happened in 30 days. 0 coverage on financial television, obviously. The question Wall Street won't ask: what did America's largest banks see coming that made them eat billions in losses just to get positioned the other way? While retail chases collapse rumors, institutions are accumulating. While mainstream media debates is silver overvalued, the smart money already answered. My prediction, well, his prediction, Sharma's prediction, not my prediction. By March 31st, 2026, at least one of these position reversals will be confirmed via quarterly OCC filings, and the narrative will shift from banks are trapped to banks front ran the greatest commodity squeeze in 45 years. That's right, guys. The collapse story is the distraction. The position flip is the signal. Stop watching where they point. Start watching where they move. Silver bugs, you only had to wait 50 years. Congratulations. I know somebody was like, oh, but it's a 3x in like 10 years. Yeah, whatever. It's supposed to be a finite asset, right? It's supposed to be this finite commodity that costs so much money to extract out of the ground, and yet fucking thing been dead for 50 years. So yeah, anyways. Yeah, exactly. It really is the collector's spirit. Like, I have one that's like, it has like a Coca-Cola logo on it, you know, like a 1 ounce silver thing with like a Coca-Cola logo. I've got another one with Coca-Cola logos. Coca-Cola made a lot of these freaking silver bars. Apparently Coca-Cola knew how to do the marketing very well, you know? Hey, thank you for the great episode. Yeah, anybody missed it, guys? Last night we did our Bye-Bye 2025 episode, myself, Humble Warrior, and Sir Ulrich. And it was a good time. It was definitely a good time. Hey, look at that. Discount silver collection for I found BTC 38. Yeah, man. Good move. Nothing wrong with that. It's a good move. But it's like, and again, right? Like, make no mistake. It's totally fine to hodl this stuff and speculate on it. But the people that are cheering on the doom and gloom of the world, right? So that they can wander around with their metal shavings, handing them to people, pretending that they're using it as money. That shit's not happening. Okay? That we're not going back to the Stone Ages. I know that people want to believe that to some people because they want to validate their narratives that they're going to be this king on top of the mountain with all of their silver and gold bars, and no one's going to want that shit. Okay? No one's going to care. All that's going to matter is food and bullets and shelter. Okay? And clothing. Sorry. If we actually get to that point. But we are not. That's not what's in the cards. It's not the direction that we're going in. What do we got here about the diamond stuff? This may be slightly off topic, but has anyone heard about the lab-grown diamonds affecting diamond prices? I would assume, you know what? I would assume that they have. I would definitely assume that they have. I don't see why not. And especially at this point, people can't even, like, unless you're getting it appraised, a person can't even tell the difference between a lab-grown diamond and one that was mined. You know, so yeah, can't even tell. Anyways, all right, guys. Always the fun, right? Always the fun. Reminding us the institutions are here. BlackRock and Michael Saylor Strategy now hold a combined 1.4 million Bitcoin worth $127 billion. Now, look, MicroStrategy, again, without the proof of reserves, we just assume, right? MicroStrategy does indeed hold the Bitcoin that they claim. Now, the Bitcoin that gets associated to BlackRock, this is obviously incorrect, okay? And We just always got to repeat it because people always, for whatever reason, they put in their minds that BlackRock is buying Bitcoin. No, the Bitcoin that they're buying is for their ETF. It is not actually their Bitcoin. Think of BlackRock as a custodian for the ETF shares Bitcoin. Anyways, BlackRock primarily holds Bitcoin through its massive iShares Bitcoin Trust. This isn't BlackRock's own treasury. They hold virtually no Bitcoin directly for themselves outside the ETF structure. And as Ulrich pointed out several months ago, they have approximately less than 10 Bitcoin. That is BlackRock's Bitcoin. Like the corporate entity, not having to do with the ETF. Okay. Russia and its largest bank. So this is a pretty interesting story. I saw some Monero enthusiasts talk about how Bitcoin has failed because the banks are going to start issuing credit against it and stuff like that. And you guys know I'm not a proponent of the banks hodling Bitcoin and issuing credit against it. However, I do understand the game theory, and I also understand that people and institutions that I don't necessarily agree with or support are going to use and hodl Bitcoin and create products against it. That's what it is. This is the landscape. But if you're framing that Bitcoin has failed because banks are going to issue credit against it, then number one, you did not understand Bitcoin the way you should have, and you should keep reading. And number two, it's probably the reason why you're hodling a shitcoin. So Russia's largest bank, SberBank, issues its first Bitcoin-backed loan. The bank said it used its own crypto custody product, Rue token. Guys, it's not a shitcoin. Okay, I'm just pointing that out right away because obviously as soon as I saw that, I was like, great. I'm like, more shitcoin shenanigans. Here we go. But it's got nothing to do with that, guys. To hold the Bitcoin used as collateral for the crypto loan. The loan was secured by digital currency mined by Intellian data. This guarantees the asset's safety during the loan period. Okay, so that Rue token, right? It's a brand of USB crypto tokens and smart cards developed by Russia's active company used for strong two-factor authentication. It's like a YubiKey, right? It's like an open... It's an open protocol YubiKey that they can essentially, an institution can bring in-house. They can set up their own Rue token. Well, I guess we can call it like a server, right? That actually manages the authentication. They can set this all up in-house and they can do it themselves. And obviously that's very empowering to an institution like that. So not crypto. It's not a token. There's no ICOs or anything like that. Okay. It's got nothing to do with that. So they are actually indeed issuing Bitcoin-backed loans or beginning to. So that actually is a good thing. Pleasantly surprised that was real. Pleasantly surprised. All right. One of the most contentious things in the Bitcoin space is Bitcoin development. This is a great post from Documenting BTC. Watch the development of Bitcoin's open source software grow by hundreds and hundreds of contributors. Anyone in the world can access the full code base, true, review changes, and propose updates that are discussed publicly and adopted by consensus. Huge shout out. Huge shout out to BitPaint. I haven't seen him in a very long time. He's a solid Bitcoiner that always made awesome graphics. I don't know where he is, but seeing this graphic makes me happy and makes me think he's doing well. So let's take a look at this. Yeah, there's no sound. Oh, there is. Damn it. I got to get rid of the sound, of course, because then YouTube gets mad. But yeah, guys, you're watching how Bitcoin development all over the world is happening in real time. And it's like, instead of having these arguments pretending that all of this stuff is centralized and creating these coercive narratives that make you think that, like, you have to be a hero and save Bitcoin and all these things, you zoom out and this is what's actually happening, right? It's a whole bunch of moving parts all over the world, different countries. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Anyways, a beautiful graphic done by BitPaint. I really, really appreciate it. And I hope you're doing well, my dude. But see, this is kind of one of the reasons that I talk about, if you're going to go to a conference, you go to a technical conference. because those conversations, right? It's not a bunch of, at least in my experience, it hasn't been a bunch of salesmen, right? It's not just sitting over there talking about how wonderful Bitcoin is and how it's going to go to the moon and how you need to be there. Instead it's talking about the actual environment that Bitcoin is being developed in and what the challenges are. And sometimes you get into the weeds with these crazy conversations, but it's well worth it. And believe it or not, right? Even if you're not so technical, in attending these things, or at the very least, opening your mind to these conversations, it makes you realize, like, yeah, that there is a whole lot happening around Bitcoin, just decentralized. So you don't notice a lot of it. Yep, that's right. Oh yeah, Phil, that's right. Banks don't give gold back loans, do they? Not in this country, my friend. Not in this country. But yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, right? That was the whole point, was that I figured, since these businesses are just buying and hodling Bitcoin and then issuing shares against it with no revenues, why can't we do that with every other asset? Because look, we've all seen, I mean, we've all seen the story. We all understand what happened in Weimar, Germany, right? All of the commodities went through the roof, right? All of the metals go up forever, right? Because fiat has no end to its printing. So wouldn't every business not even need to be a business? Couldn't every single business just hodl all of these commodities and then issue shares against them to each other? Sounds stupid, doesn't it? Anyways, I'm sure this is going to be fine. All right, guys, that does it for me for today. I'm getting a whole bunch of hopium ready for tomorrow. That's right, because of course we're going to do an episode on New Year's Eve. Right, it's going to be good times, right? Nice little Bitcoin daily episode. Should be fun. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. I am going to catch you all tomorrow, 12:10 p.m. Eastern. Oh, Rourke, what are you saying here? Self-custody Bitcoin, no grifter in the middle. Yeah, that's right. Don't need any of that shit, right? Don't need any of that unless you want to issue shares, right? Because that could grow faster than Bitcoin. Yeah, the people who bought that frickin' narrative are that's another kick in the nuts this particular cycle, huh? That whole all of those companies were gonna grow faster. That didn't happen. Anyways, maybe it happens. Maybe it happens. Guys, have a great rest of the day. I'll catch you all later. Peace.